I set out to prove two markets disagree. I had one excuse left, so I killed it. Same regulator, both venues, a clean head-to-head. Then I asked the obvious question, where do these two venues disagree? Where they could, there was nothing to compare. Where they finally lined up, they agreed to 1/100th of a degree. The disagreement I was selling did not exist. Here is why. You know how a dead result stays alive. There's always one more excuse. Bad data, wrong window, the one confound you never controlled for. You have run this exact play yourself, defending a result you loved. A skeptic can keep any thesis breathing forever, one objection at a time. And I had a real one left. Maybe I had compared the wrong two venues. That objection is a good one. Polymarket runs offshore, walled off from American retail traders. Kalshi is a federally regulated American exchange. Different rails, different crowds, different rules. That gap alone could explain any price difference I found. If two venues answer to different regulators, of course they drift. And a drift I cannot trust is a product I cannot sell. So I removed the objection instead of arguing with it. Polymarket runs its own regulated United States venue under the same federal regulator as Kalshi. This was not a config flag. That venue speaks a different protocol, different market structure, contract handling I wrote from scratch. I rebuilt the instrument against it. Now the test put two American regulated venues head to head. The wrong Polymarket excuse could not survive. Every count that follows hangs on one rule. A language model reads both listings and proposes a match, but it is never allowed to bless one. Only a strict mechanical check confirms it, same metric, same subject, same reference period, all lining up. The model can suggest a twin, the check alone decides. Then I asked the question the whole product depended on. Where do these two venues actually disagree? Start with politics, the loudest market of the year. My instrument tried to match the same political event across both venues. 82 times it tried, 82 times it failed, 0 confirmed matches, not a small edge, no shared market to measure at all. The reason is subtle, and it is the whole lesson. Both venues use the same names, the same candidates, the same races, but they were not asking the same question. One listed whether a candidate wins a single primary. The other listed which party takes the general months later, same proper nouns, different resolvable events. There was nothing to compare. Last episode, I had 25 confirmed political twins between the two venues, a persistent gap still unexplained. Those twins lived on the offshore Polymarket. On its regulated United States venue, under the same rules as Kalshi, not one of them survives. Sports told the same story, faster. 15 candidate pairs went in, 0 came out. The two venues share team names but list different kinds of bets, never the same dated game. Here is the pattern nobody warns you about. Where two venues might disagree, they refuse to list the same thing. The disagreement has nowhere to live. Where do real twins live? In the boring markets, scalar ladders, tomorrow's high in a city, this quarter's growth number, rungs of a ladder, each one a threshold. A targeted fetch pulled 4,251 of these scalar markets from Kalshi to search. This is the one place both venues priced the very same quantity, so I lined up the ones that confirmed as twins, and they agreed. Not roughly, not close enough, to a fraction of a degree. On tomorrow's high in Chicago, the two implied medians sat 1/100th of a degree apart. Miami, 5/100ths, New York, 7, Los Angeles, 11/100ths of a degree. On this quarter's growth number, 6/100ths of a percentage point. And on unemployment, the two agreed to a rounding error. Every confirmed twin I checked agreed, not just these few. Two crowds, one public forecast, no room to disagree. Now put that gap in context. These were live liquid markets agreeing, not frozen legs. Their own bid-ask spread on Kalshi ran 1.5 to 6 points wide. In price terms, my cross-venue gap was a fraction of 1 point, an order of magnitude inside that spread. Forget the trading fee, the gap vanishes before the fee even shows up. So if they agree this tightly, what were all my earlier edges? Everyone came from the same mistake. I was comparing the printed labels on each contract, the words on the ticket, not the actual bet underneath. And comparing labels across two venues, manufacturers signal out of thin air, I found 5 distinct ways it does that. 1. The greater than problem. One venue counts a threshold as met at or above the line. The other counts it strictly above. A single tick of difference in convention, line up two ladders that count the boundary differently. You fabricate about 12 points of fake divergence on every macro print, align the convention, and it collapses. 2. Bands versus tails. One venue prices a narrow band, 72 to 73. The other prices, an open tail. Everything above 72, those are not the same object. One is a thin slice, the other is a half line. Compare their raw prices and you subtract apples from a different fruit entirely. The number is real, the thing it measures is nonsense. 3. Series contamination, merge daily high, daily low, and a midday reading into one curve, and the median jumps about 14 degrees. That prints a fake 98-point gap, one curve, 3 different questions. That was last episode's Phantom. Here it is, just item 3. 4. Subject collapse. My parser defaulted every macro market to one country, the United States. It quietly merged American growth with Italy's, Germany's, and France's, all into one bucket. It even mixed year-over-year figures with quarter-over-quarter, 4 countries and 2 definitions stacked into a single number, garbage by construction, before anyone read a price. No market ever said that. My default did. 5. Dropped signs and overround. A regular expression ate a leading minus sign, folding negative strikes onto positive ones. And one venue's ladder did not even sum to 100%. Its prices added up to about 126, 26 points of pure overround baked in. Per rung probabilities like that are not a signal, they are noise. 5 edges, 5 bugs. Not one was the market talking. Everyone was me, misreading a label. The fix fits in one sentence. Stop comparing the labels on the tickets. For each true twin, same metric, same subject, same time window, rebuild what each venue's prices imply, then compare one honest summary, the implied median. That single change turns the fake 14-degree gap into a 1/10 of a degree. And that reframes the entire problem. I thought cross-venue trading was a pricing problem. Find where the prices disagree. It is not. It is an identity problem. The hard part was never the price. It was proving 2 contracts on 2 venues are the same bet at all. Almost always they are not. The edge lived in my parser, not the market. The whole series was building to one honest verdict. Where the 2 venues could disagree, they never listed the same thing. Where they listed the same thing, they agreed to a fraction of a degree. Cross-venue divergence was not an inefficiency. It was not a product. It was a parsing artifact 5 different ways. In every regime I could test, there was no edge to sell, and I can prove why the ones I thought I had were bugs. What does all of this leave behind? No profitable bot came out of this project. 4 durable things did, a method for telling a real gap from a labeling bug, an open source instrument that runs the test, a public data set of over 462,000 resolved markets out in the open for anyone, and a negative result clean enough to publish, the one thing almost nobody in this space ever bothers to produce. I set out to find an edge in a market. I did not find one. Instead, I built a fairly good machine for proving an edge is not there. The easy money everyone starts with was never there to take, and this whole series is the receipt. If you take one idea from it, take this. A shared name is not a shared bet. Prove identity before you trust any price gap. The method is written up. That is the whole story. Thanks for watching it to the end.